Hello, this is me, and there's the American flag, boy. There it is. And here I sit before you, a proud American. But I wanted to talk about something, actually, which is the way in which some Russophobes, the contradictory things that these some Russophobes say with regard to Russian influence. And yesterday I was talking about how Richard Spencer and Colin Liddell are no longer the representatives of the dissident right that they had claimed to be before, and I described the different ways in which they both have gone astray. Richard Spencer much more conspicuously, because he's more of a conspicuous figure, but Colin has of late, for reasons unknown, but reasons that I think are related to his sheer sense of spite, because as I said before, though I don't know the man that well, I do know that he's someone for whom his spite is his muse. And so where his spite leads him, his spite, not his sprite. I don't know how he feels about the soft drink Sprite, but his spite, where it leads him, that's where he follows. In my understanding of his psyche, his persona, or his personality, I should say. Now, this does not only apply to Colin Liddell. This applies to other Russophobes who have made themselves manifest lately. But most of the Russophobes are either of the neocon variety or of the neoliberal variety. And I don't know what Colin Liddell calls himself these days, but he is as much of a Russophobe as the most Russophobic neocon or neoliberal. Sorry, we've got some loud folks over here of an indeterminate ethnic origin. But they're back to America. Okay, so here's this isn't just about Colin Liddell. This is about all. Even though he's an outstanding case, because I guess he still wants to or claims to represent the right in some way, but yet it seems that to him, everyone who is on the right, anyone who has attained any kind of popularity or notoriety or acclaim, who is on the right and not a neocon, is basically a Russian dupe or a Russian agent or a Russian shill. And if you don't believe me, check out Colin Liddell's writing lately and see for yourself. But I just wanted to point out a couple of things. Again, not only singling out Colin, but everyone who is a Russophobe these days, and the contradictions that one finds amongst the Russophobes. Because on the one hand, and just to clarify, I'm not a Russophile. I know some will claim that I am, but I'm not. I'm really, as far as Putin and Russia invading Ukraine, I don't think it's a great thing, but I also think that NATO needs to chill out with their attempts to conquer the world and their alliance with people like Schwab and the gang. So, I guess I am what amounts to a Russophile, in the sense that I want Russia, or I want someone. I want some force, or preferably more than one force. I want there to be. I don't want a unipolar world ruled by the West in its current state, because the West in its current state has thoroughly been hijacked by undesirable people with undesirable ideas, and and thoroughly sinister motivations. But here's what the Russophobes say. On the one hand, they say that Putin and Russia Russia's a spent force. Russia is just really, actually pathetic. They went into Ukraine, and they couldn't even lock things down there, and it wasn't just a strategic thing of them coming in and not bombing everybody like Western countries, especially the United States, tend to do. No, it was just that they're weak. How pathetically weak you've become, to quote Ivan Drago's coach in Rocky IV. So their projected strength, Putin's projected strength, good alliteration there, is an illusion, because Russia is really just a paper tiger. It's nothing like what it pretends to be. It's essentially a second world or a third world country, but it wants to reclaim its former glory, that it had as a superpower in the past. But it's really just laughable. So this is one thing they say about Russia, but at the same time, they talk about how Russian influence so permeates the West that, as I was saying before, anyone, particularly any legitimately right-wing or conservative figure coming out of the Western world is really just in bed with the Russians, is really just controlled by the Russians, and has no real independence from Russian influence. And this is how Colin Liddell talks these days, and this is how lots of neocons and neoliberals talk these days. And they say things like, oh, well, as I was saying the other day, Tulsi Gabbard is, because she's anti-establishment, against what NATO is doing, and is anti-imperialist, anti-war, she is really just doing the Russians' bidding. And that goes for anybody and everybody. Anybody you can think of to name who represents some kind of force amongst conservatism in the United States or in the West generally, they've all been propped up by Putin, and they're all just doing Putin's will. When Trump won in 2016, it was just because the Russians propped him up, because they didn't want Hillary Clinton to win. And, Colin Liddell's actually saying these things right now. He's actually saying things that the Podesta brothers and others of their ilk were saying back in 2016. He's saying that Pizzagate was just something that was set up by the Russians to that this whole idea of pedophiles ruling the West, being in positions of power in the West. This is all something that was just cooked up by the Russians in order to undermine the United States, to undermine the West. And so the contradiction is, on the one hand, Russia, let me zoom away from the American flag and get back to my beautiful face here. So which is it? Are the Russians a spent force, just pathetically trying to assert their power in a world where they've been left behind, and they're just a paper tiger, and they can't even go into podunk Ukraine and win? That shows how pathetic they are. Or is that the truth, or is the truth that the Russians are this devious, incredibly powerful, incredibly influential power that essentially runs the West, especially anyone who is conservative or right wing in the West. And once again, we have these very loud people over here of an indeterminate ethnic origin. But hopefully you can still hear my lovely resonant voice making my inassailable points here. So which is it, guys? Which is it, Colin or anybody? I mean, it can't be both. So choose one or the other. That's what I say. That's my message to the Russophobes. Thanks for watching.